And everybody, I'm very thankful to see you all this morning. I'm thankful to welcome you to what appears to be the beginning of the end of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, as shameful as that is. I don't think it's coincidental, you know how I think, but it's after 40 days of wandering in the wilderness and making the American people suffer needlessly. Some Senate Democrats finally have stepped forward to end the pain. It appears to us this morning that our long national nightmare is finally coming to an end, and we're grateful for that. At least some Democrats now finally appear ready to do what Republicans and President Trump and millions of hardworking American people have been asking them to do for weeks. But as we said from the beginning, the people's government cannot be held hostage to further anyone's political agenda. That was never right. And shutting down the government never produces anything. It never has, if you study history. And so here we are. I want to remind everybody this morning of another critical point that you've heard me here repeat over and over the last several weeks. It's something that I and Leader John Thune and President Trump and every Republican leader have all said repeatedly from the beginning. We have always been open to finding solutions to reduce the oppressive costs of healthcare under the Unaffordable Care Act. We just made clear that we would not and should not ever do that. That is, negotiate as hostages. And I've also reminded you here every morning at this press conference throughout the shutdown, Republicans have not just been talking about reducing costs and fraud and abuse in so many areas and in healthcare. We've been actually passing new laws to accomplish that urgent mission for the people, and we will continue to do so. So here's where we are by way of schedule, just so you know, you're following. And if you're not at home, if you're waking up to this good news this morning, the Senate's vote late last night of 60 to 40 opens the door now. The Senate is moving forward on an amended House CR, a continuing resolution, that will reopen the government until January 30th. Added to that are provisions to fully fund SNAP provisions through the end of the next fiscal year, which is September.
So the Senate has stepped in, guys. The Senate, Democratic Senate has stepped in, the senators, to try to end this shutdown, guys, going against their counterparts in order to try to come up with a resolution to this problem.
To fully fund SNAP provisions through the end of the next fiscal year, which is September 2026, guaranteed back pay for all federal workers who have been made to endure these hardships over the last several weeks. And it also includes passage of 3 appropriations bills, which we're grateful to be moving through the process. Construction and Veterans Affairs bill, it's the agriculture bill, and the legislative branch bill. The Senate will be back in session this morning to finish their job, and we're certainly praying that unanimous consent from all senators to fast track their final vote. As you know, there are some procedural hurdles that one or more could throw in the way, but we certainly hope that they won't do that because so many people across this country are desperate for the government to reopen. At the very moment that they do that final vote, I will call all House members to return to Washington as quickly as possible. We'll give a 36-hour formal and official notice so that we can vote as soon as possible to pass the amended CR bill and get it to the president's desk. As you all know, and he said as recently as last night, I was with him, and he told the press, he said, we want to get the government open. He's very anxious to get the government reopened and to end the Schumer shutdown. We all are. With regard to the travel challenges, I spoke yesterday at some length with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, my former colleague and good friend, and he lamented the serious situation that we have with air travel in the U.S. He's bent over backwards, as all members of the administration and the cabinet have done in all of their areas of jurisdiction, to try to keep the government working for the people and to mitigate the pain and the harm. But the problem...
Mike ain't lying, man. There is most definitely reports of senators, Democratic senators, who basically are looking to strike a deal with the Republican guys regarding this shutdown, guys. They're trying to get this over with. Shout out to the cut up girl for that $2. Make sure y'all double tapping that screen. That's how you hit the like button, or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, man. This is Everything News, and we're most definitely bringing you everything that we can find on this government shutdown, guys.
We have with air travel is that our air traffic controllers are overworked and unpaid, and many of them have called in sick. It's a very stressful job, and even more stressful exponentially when they're having trouble providing for their families. And so Air travel has been grinding to a halt in many places.
Thank
And
you.
as of Sunday, nearly half of all domestic flights and U.S. flights were either canceled or delayed. And it's a very serious situation. So I'm saying that by way of reminder. I'm stating the obvious to all my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats in the House. You need to begin right now returning to the Hill. We have to do this as quickly as possible. Now, we look forward to the government reopening this week so Congress can get back to our regular legislative session. We have a lot of business to do, as you all know, and we will be working in earnest. There'll be long days and long nights here
All right, Daniel.
for the foreseeable future to make up for all this lost time that was imposed upon us. I want to close with something that's important. I think it's important to say that this is genuine. I mean this sincerely. We applaud the 7 Senate Democrats and 1 independent senator who did the right thing. They decided to put principle over their personal politics. And my urgent plea of all my colleagues in the House, and that means every Democrat in the House, is to think carefully, pray, and finally do the right thing and help us to bring an end to the pain of the American people. This has gone on too long. Too many people have suffered, and it's long overdue. That's the update I wanted to give you this morning. There are probably lots of questions, but I'm going to get a lot of my own questions answered later today. So stay tuned for more. Thanks so much.
So in a very short, answer form, Mike Johnson jumped up there, and basically told the people that the shutdown may be coming to an end, right? Due to these Democrats that's on the Senate willing to work with the Republicans in order to open back up the government. Let's see what Jeffries had to say about all this.
And far too many people are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. They can't thrive. They can barely survive. And that's why Democrats have been waging this fight. And will continue to wage this fight.
So as of right now, we in day 41, guys, of this government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history, man.
No matter what comes over to us from the United States Senate
What's up, West
to the
Side?
House of Representatives at some point this week. Our position as House Democrats has been crystal clear. We will sit down with any Republicans, anytime, any place, anywhere, in order to find a bipartisan path forward, but we're not down
Thank you,
with their
Lala.
my way or the highway approach to governance. That's failed the American people. It's been a disaster for the American people, and the American people know it. Which is why last Tuesday, Republicans all across the country got wiped out. One of the most decisive off-year elections ever in modern American history. And so as House Democrats, we know we're on the right side of this fight, the right side of the American people. And we're not going to support partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. And we're going to continue the fight to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And if it doesn't happen this week, next week, this month, next month, then it's the fault of Donald Trump, House and Senate Republicans, who continue to make life more expensive for the American people.
Thank you, Miss D.
Some Democrats in your own caucus are suggesting Schumer is ineffective as Senate Democratic leader and should be replaced.
They saying Schumer should be replaced, guys. They trying to get rid of Chuck Schumer.
And should he keep the job?
Yes and yes.
Do you trust, in this deal, there is language for President Trump and the Trump administration to reverse some of the firings that happened during the shutdown? Do you trust that the Trump administration and the president is going to sign off on that and reverse the people who have been fired?
We'll have to evaluate the legislative language, and we'll have a caucus meeting later on this afternoon, and we'll get a presentation from Rosa DeLauro, the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee. The overwhelming majority of Senate Democrats, led by Leader Schumer, are opposing this bill in the Senate. And they'll articulate there are a variety of different reasons that the bill is being opposed strongly by Democrats in the Senate, the overwhelming majority of them. And there'll be a variety of different reasons that we articulate in the House. Now, certainly we're going to continue to stand by our hardworking federal employees. By the way, Donald Trump and Republicans, this toxic administration, they fired more than 100,000 federal employees prior to the shutdown that they started beginning. So, of course, there's reason to be deeply skeptical of the administration and their motives as it relates to the hardworking federal civil servants and the federal workforce. And we will continue to be deeply skeptical of their intentions. They spent the whole year implementing the most toxic parts of Project 2025. After lying to the American people last year, saying they didn't know anything about Project 2025. And part of that has been going after the federal workforce. So we'll see what the language looks like, but it doesn't change the core problem here.
Thank you,
which
Trey.
is we need to decisively address the Republican healthcare crisis
Put a tomato
on behalf of working class Americans, everyday Americans, and middle class Americans. Thanks. Third row.
So Dr. Oz said that millions.
Who?
He asked about Dr. Oz. Jeffrey said, who?
That's like the most random way to start a question on a serious topic. Nobody who's serious
Trace.
in this country takes Dr. Oz seriously. No one.
Trey. It's Trey.
And I mean, it's shocking that the guy even was confirmed. But this is part of the reality of Republicans here in the House and over in the Senate. They're nothing more than a rubber stamp for Donald Trump's cruelty and extreme agenda.
Are the phantom enrollees being addressed though?
I have no idea what Dr. Oz is talking about, and neither do the American people. Now, with respect to the Affordable Care Act, here's what I do know. That Republicans have tried to repeal
Lord have mercy.
the Affordable Care Act more than 70 different times in the last 15 years. They don't operate in good faith when it comes to the health care of the American people. And of course, as Democrats have repeatedly indicated, we're open to sitting down and having a bipartisan conversation about how to fix our broken healthcare system overall. But I'm not going to respond to any comments from randos like Dr. Oz, who is woefully unqualified to be in whatever
Shots
position
fired
he
at
holds
Dr. Oz, guys.
in the
They don't think he
administration. He's a
qualified.
joke. These people are
Say he a
jokes.
joke.
But the issue of the healthcare of the American people is very serious. And that's what we'll continue to focus on. Back row.
Do you see in the Senate bill the extension of SNAP benefits rather than the possibility of a January cliff in them? Do you see that as
Thank you for the coffee, Bobby.
Here's what I understand about the SNAP situation. Republicans this year,
Shout out
on
to
July
Gillian for that
3rd,
20.
subsequently
Thank you.
signed into law by the current president, enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, ripping away health insurance from at least 14 million Americans, and at the same period of time, cut $186 billion from SNAP. Republicans did that this year.
Hey, Nancy.
They literally ripped food from the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans so they could reward their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks that they made permanent. That's what Republicans did.
Hey guys, take time to double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. That's how you hit the like button. It helps out the channel, man. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. This is everything that we know about the government shutdown. It's day 41, guys. Woo-wee. It's the longest in U.S. history.
Launched an all-out assault on SNAP. They've weaponized hunger and starvation here in America, taken SNAP benefits away from more than 1 million veterans rather than honoring them tomorrow, which is what should be taking place in the United States of America. Republicans have done that. And so these people can't be trusted on the cost of living issue. These Republican extremists, they can't be trusted on the healthcare issue. And they certainly cannot be trusted on the SNAP issue.
As you know, this has been the longest shutdown in American history. You've seen chaos at airports, delayed SNAP benefits, people losing their jobs. And yet, the deal that Democrats agreed to has been a deal that's been on the table for a while now. Still no policy outcome on health care. So what do the American people gain from the past 41 days?
Our fight in the House of Representatives will continue to address the Republican health care crisis. We'll continue that fight today, tomorrow, this week, next week,
What's up,
this
Tom?
month, next month, this year, next year. We're going to continue that fight to
Thank
fix
you.
our broken
Thank you.
healthcare
Thank you,
system
Tom.
and lower the high cost of living for the American people. And the American people know that we're on the right side of this fight. It's part of the reason why you saw decisive Democratic victories last Tuesday and crushing Republican losses all across America. In Virginia, in New Jersey, in New York, in Pennsylvania, in California, in Mississippi, in Georgia, across the country, up and down the ballot. Because Republican policies have failed.
Hey guys, we need to get those likes up to 100, man. If you in the building, double tap that screen. If you're on a mobile device, all you have to do is double tap your screen. It's not hard. Or you can click the three dots in the right-hand corner and hit the thumbs up, man. We got way too many people in here to not at least have 100 likes, guys. Let's get those likes up. We at 71. Let's keep them moving, man. Double tap your screen, you know what I'm saying? Or click those three dots and hit that thumbs up. This is Hakeem Jeffries on the government shutdown, day 41, man. We at 81, you know what I'm saying? We need 100. Keep double tapping that screen, man. Let's get those likes up. Shout out to everybody that's viewing the content. I appreciate each and every one of y'all, man. We need 10 more. We at 91, guys. Let's get those likes up. Show some support for the channel, man. We are bringing you everything that we know about the government shutdown, day 41, man. Yeah, let's continue to go. We need 7 more, guys. Double tap that screen, get the likes up. What do y'all think about this government shutdown? Is it the Democrats' fault? Is it the Republicans' fault? Is it President Trump's fault? Or is it all of their faults? I vote for all of their faults, you know, because if they would sit down. Now, listen. They're telling me that it's basically may be coming to an end, guys. What I think is they said 8 Democratic senators basically looking to strike a deal with the Republicans to open back up the government, guys. Trump won't budge. Trump is basically saying he's not doing any negotiation with any Democrats until the government is opened. We need 4 more likes, guys. Double tap that screen, man. I don't care who stay. I don't care who leave. But I know we most definitely have too many people in the building to not even have 100 likes, man. We got 261 people in here. We most definitely need y'all to double tap that screen, man. It's easy. If you're on a mobile device, an iPhone, an Android, double tap your screen. If you're on any other kind of device, click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, man. Hit the like button, y'all. Let's get the likes. We holding the show up, you know, because y'all won't hit the like button. You hear? You might as well hit the like button. He needs more water because he needs to refresh his brain. Lord have mercy. Wish we could redistrict him out of office. Wow, man. Y'all don't like Hakeem Jeffries? Man, shout out to everybody that hit that like button. As you come in, if you haven't hit it, make sure you hit that like button. Let's get back to what Hakeem Jeffries has to say about all this.
The American people. And as Democrats, we're going to continue to fight to make their
What's up,
life
Linda?
better. Thanks.
Throughout the shutdown, you referred to your Senate colleagues as courageous for rejecting the 14 previous attempts to reopen the government without an extension to the Affordable Tax Care Credits. Those 8 Senate Democrats who voted to start the process of reopening the government, do you still include them in that characterization of courageous Democrats who have kept the fight going throughout this shutdown?
Well, I don't have much to say about those individuals, and they're going to have to explain themselves to their constituents and to the American people. I certainly believe that Senate Democrats, the overwhelming majority of Senate Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, have waged a valiant fight over the last 7 weeks, defeating the partisan Republican spending bill 14 or 15 different times, week after week after week, and continue to oppose this effort of passing legislation that does not address the Republican healthcare crisis by extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. But the fight is getting ready to shift back to the House, where we're going to work hard, hold the Republicans accountable. All of these loudmouths on the House Republican conference side, who's been saying for the last several weeks that we have to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Now is their chance. This week, they have to come back from their 7-week prolonged taxpayer-funded Republican vacation. They can no longer hide. They can no longer hide. Mike Johnson apparently still hiding. Refused to even answer a single question today. That's extraordinary.
I told y'all.
But they're not going to be able to hide.
Mike Johnson took no questions today. 7-minute press conference, guys. 7 minutes is all Mike Johnson gave, and he didn't answer any questions or take questions from the audience.
This week, when they return from their vacation. Thanks.
Speaking of the House, Speaker Johnson has not committed to holding a vote on subsidies, even though the Senate agreement would have them do so. What do you say to that? And then also, what do you think that would do to the relationship between Republicans and Democrats on the House side?
Well, the failure of Republicans to address the healthcare crisis that they've created in the House and in the Senate is no surprise, because House and Senate Republicans multiple times this year have been given an opportunity to vote to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, and multiple times this year already, in the context of the debate around their one big ugly bill, they voted against, unanimously voted against extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. So over the last several weeks, it's become increasingly difficult for them to hide from their position as it relates to the health care of the American people.
Well, check this out, Gillian. It's not the ones that we're used to. The senators have stepped in. The Democratic senators have stepped in to do, I guess, the filibuster, they call it, in order to open back up the government. So it's not the ones we have, the Democrats we have been watching, that's basically folded. It was the Senate Democrats that did it.
And House Democrats, joined by our colleagues in the Senate, we're not going to stop the fight. We're going to continue to lean into the fight over the next few days and beyond until we actually get an outcome that makes life better for working class Americans.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. There's already extensive backlash coming from the Democratic base over feeling shortchanged by Senate Democrats who secured this deal without touching on health care. What do you think that this backlash can mean for the party going into the midterms next year, and also for the voters who just handed Democrats a decisive victory? Do you think that this will make them feel also shortchanged, disenfranchised, demoralized? Do you think that this will lead to a switch up?
House Democrats are going to take back control of the House of Representatives next year. I've said it before, and if I said it, I meant it. Now, with respect to the senators on the other side of the Capitol, they're going to have to explain themselves. But the overwhelming majority of Senate Democrats continue to remain in the arena fighting to fix our broken healthcare system and address the Republican healthcare crisis. This fight for us is not partisan. It's not a partisan fight. It's a patriotic fight. We're waging this fight on behalf of the American people. The 5 states that are most impacted by a failure to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits are West Virginia, Wyoming, Alaska, Mississippi, and Tennessee. 45% of the people of the Americans who are going to lose health care or be at risk of losing health care if they don't, on the other side of the aisle, extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. 45% of them are registered Republicans. 35% registered Democrats, and 20% unaffiliated or independent. This is not a partisan fight for us. It's a patriotic fight. You know, one of the people that I met early on during this Trump Republican shutdown, came to Capitol Hill, was a 29-year-old named Mariah Plant. She's from rural Wyoming County in West Virginia. Her older brother is nonverbal, autistic, and requires 24-hour care.
Thank you.
And Mariah is able to provide that care to her older brother lovingly and affectionately because of Medicaid that Republicans have now cut by the largest amount in American history. Her hospital in rural West Virginia is at risk of closing because of Republican policies in their one big ugly bill. And at the same time, this 29-year-old loving caregiver for her older brother gets her health care from the Affordable Care Act. And it's affordable because of the tax credits that Republicans now want to rip away from her.
So here we go. This is where we at, guys. It says the Senate voted 60-40 in a key procedural vote to advance the deal. This required 8 Democrats to break with their party and vote with Republicans to overcome a filibuster, guys. That's where we at right now. That's why people are saying that it looks like the government is about to reopen. Once again, the Senate voted 60-40 in a key procedural vote to advance the deal. That this required 8 Democrats to break with their party and vote with Republicans to overcome a filibuster.
And so I'm fighting for people like Mariah Plant.
Thank y'all for the gifts.
Very different than the people that I represent in Brooklyn, New York. But she's an American, just like I represent hundreds of thousands of Americans. And that's what House Democrats are doing. We're fighting for the American people.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. Have you spoken to your Democratic colleagues in the Senate who voted to reopen the government? And if so, what do you make of the argument that Republicans would not discuss health care during the shutdown, so they said there's no choice but to vote yes?
I have not spoken to them. Thanks.
Different topic, Mr. Leader, if you don't mind. President Trump announcing widespread pardons for the group of people that were involved in providing alternate electors, as they called it, for the 2020 election. And he also has allegedly received a commutation request from Ghislaine Maxwell. Just wondering about your thoughts about the way the president has handled his pardon power, especially given how critical he was of President Biden.
Well, Donald Trump, in terms of the exercise of his pardon power and commutations, is completely and totally out of control. Like, he can find the time to pardon a serial fraudster like George Santos, but can't find any time to sit down with Democrats on Capitol Hill who represent half the country in order to address the healthcare crisis that Republicans have created. That's devastating people in urban America, rural America, working class America, small town America, the heartland of America, and black and brown communities throughout America. And so what we're seeing with these toxic pardons and commutations coming from Donald Trump is more of the same. And look, the American people know these extremists on the Republican side have gone too far. And the crazy part about it is that they went too far on day one of Donald Trump's presidency. And it's been downhill ever since. On day one of Donald Trump's presidency, this guy pardons hundreds of violent felons who brutally beat police officers.
Thank you,
140 of whom were seriously injured.
Speaking of pardons, Trump just pardoned what's his name, Giuliani. how you say his name? The dude at what's the name in New York? He got pardoned as well. I forget how to say his name, but I know the last part is Giuliani or something like that. Trump pardoned him. You know what I'm saying? He was in a bunch of trouble. Trump just pardoned him. What is his name, guys? Giuliani. What is his? That's his last name, I think. What's his first name? Yeah, Giuliani. Yeah, he pardoned him. You know what I'm saying? I seen that last night. I said, wow.
Life-threatening
Yeah, okay,
injuries,
there we go.
and then unleash these people
okay, Giuliani.
on communities all across the
Rudy
country
Giuliani. There it goes.
in ways that put those communities at risk. And what we've seen from Donald Trump since day one, since those toxic pardons of those violent individuals,
Rudy,
is more of the same. From a person who promised to lower costs on day one, but doesn't give a damn about the American people. And what has taken place over the last 41 days is that the American people have seen Democrats fight for them, fight to make life better for them, fight to drive down the high cost of living for everyday Americans, and fix our broken healthcare system in the face of this overwhelming Republican assault on the healthcare of everyday Americans. And Republicans continue to stand up for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected.
Thank you, Leader. Whether fair or unfair, Leader Schumer is taking a lot of heat from members of your own party. Why do you think he is the right leader for this moment? Why do you think he should stay leader of Senate Democrats?
Yeah, as I've indicated, listen, Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats over the last 7 weeks have waged a valiant fight on behalf of the American people. And I'm not going to explain what a handful of Senate Democrats have decided to do. That's their explanation to offer to the American people. What we're going to continue to do as House Democrats, partner with our allies throughout America, is to wage the fight to stay in the Coliseum, to win victories in the arena on behalf of the American people, notwithstanding whatever disappointments may arise. That's the reality of life. That's certainly the reality of this place. But we're in this fight for all the right reasons, because the extremism that has been unleashed on the American people is completely and totally out of control. Life hasn't gotten better for everyday Americans under Donald Trump and compliant Republicans. It's gotten worse. And the American people know it. And we've got to continue to stay in this fight until we end this national nightmare. And that's our commitment.
Tanya, whatever he said, it most definitely said it. I did not turn the volume down. All I did was mute it. I paused it, and then I talked. And then when I got done talking, I unpaused it. So everything he said was still said.
To the American people, we're in this fight until we end this national nightmare and can get back to a place where we continue America's long, necessary, and majestic march toward a more perfect union. Thank you.
All right, so that was Hakeem Jeffries on this situation, guys. It's looking like the government shutdown is about to come to an end, guys. Hold on, I think this is the same thing. It's the same thing. Let's take that off. All right, so this is a little bit about what's going on.
The group says it was simply time.
So 8 senators who caucus with Democrats have broken rank with their party to advance a Republican plan to end the shutdown. A vote is still to come. The measure will then head to the House for final passage.
So the group is doing this despite getting no guarantees on their one big demand. That was an extension of the tax credits for Obamacare subsidies. And that's drawing fury from some fellow Democrats. After 40 days of furloughs, though, and flight cancellations, the group says it was simply time.
Let me just say this. With the government open, we can focus on passing a full bipartisan budget for 2026.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied.
So these are some of the Democrats that
waiting
voted
another week
that went to
or
open the
another
government.
month wouldn't deliver a better outcome.
It was our judgment after 6 weeks, going on 7 weeks of this shutdown, that path wasn't working.
Aisha Hosni has the latest from Capitol Hill, and I'm sure that those senators can smell jet fumes and the possibility of being able to leave.
Hey, Dana and Bill, good morning to you. It's been a stunning couple of hours here on Capitol Hill. Think about this. Think about the No Kings rallies, the massive rallies nationwide. Think about 40 days of a government shutdown. Think about last Tuesday's election results. All for what? The Democrats accepted an offer that was always on the table. There is about to be a reckoning in this party when the House comes back to the Hill. Here's what happened last night. 8 centrist Senate Democrats, they voted alongside Republicans to break the filibuster, and that unlocks the door to ending the government shutdown.
These are the 8 Democratic senators, guys, that decided that it was time to end this shutdown, and they basically, you know, are looking for a resolution, guys. They went against the Democratic Party, you know, of their peers, you know, and basically stepped out and said, hey, man, this got to come to an end. So these are the 8. These are the 8 right here, you know, who basically chose to go against the rest of the Democratic Party.
Here's the deal. It is a CR, a continuing resolution to fund the government through the end of January. It restores SNAP benefits. It rehires workers who were laid off during the shutdown, and it also passes a couple of funding bills. The shutdown deal skips their crown jewel, the whole reason they were fighting in the first place, to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Instead, they got a promise to hold a vote on it in December. Let me be clear about this. It's not a vote right now. There's no guarantee it's going to pass, no guarantee the House would ever even take it up. Here are some of those Democrats explaining why they voted yes.
It wasn't working. How long would it take to not get a response to say it isn't working?
There was no vote that we were going to get on the Affordable Care Act, premium tax credits. We have a guaranteed vote by a guaranteed date on a bill that we will write, not that the Republicans will write.
Democratic base is furious. There are folks out there that are calling for Chuck Schumer's head for not holding out on this. And Dana, this is just the first big step. The Senate now has to try to come to a time agreement to skip a bunch of other Senate steps to get to the final passage. If they can pass it today, maybe tomorrow, they can send it over to the House, and then the Speaker will recall the House, bring everybody back, and then they'll try to get it done sometime this week. Dana?
Aisha, thank you so much.
So Byron York now here to talk about this following on X all weekend. Byron, let's talk about the fallout. Democrats did not have the votes. In fact,
hey guys, we need to get these likes up. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, man. Let's get the likes up, guys. Most definitely hit that like button. To all my moderators, man, remember that it is a requirement to have your work shirt to be a moderator on this channel. So make sure, you know, you get your work shirt, man. It should be yellow by every blue. I'm just saying.
They've never had the votes for this.
You know, it's been a rocky road, but the end result of this has been clear from day one, which is the party that loses a government shutdown is the party that attaches conditions to reopening the government. In all of our shutdowns, we've had one party that says, oh, my issue is so important that I simply cannot allow the government to keep functioning until we address it. And the other side says, well, wait a minute, let's get the government running and then we'll talk about your issue. And the party that attaches the conditions is the party that always ends up giving up because the public gets tired of the government being shut down. This one went longer than most, and the public is really tired of it.
You know who else is tired of it, or tired of each other? It's the Democratic Party. Most of the headlines today are about Democratic infighting, which I think is to the Republicans' benefit, and the Democrats are going to have to go through this one way or the other. Ro Khanna, the congressman from California, said this: Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. If you can't lead the fight to stop healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? And then that governor from California, Governor Newsom, he said this: tonight's Senate vote on the federal government shutdown should have been a time for strength. Instead, we saw capitulation and a betrayal of working Americans. The American people need more from their leaders. And that's actually mild. If you saw what some of the other Democrats were saying, they used a lot of words that begin with the letter F.
This is just incredible. It's Monday morning. Last Wednesday morning, we were talking about Democrats savoring their victory, having gotten over their slump, having new momentum. That's all we were talking about 5 days ago.
Thank you, Miss
And
Amazing.
now it's Democrats involved in a bitter civil war. Well, these are tensions that always existed inside the Democratic Party between its progressive wing and a dwindling number of people who call themselves centrist. And we just saw it. We basically have 40 Democrats in the Senate who wanted to hang tough and keep this shutdown going forever, apparently, and 7 or 8 of them who
Now
decided
remember,
that it was time to give in.
They're saying it's about time to get rid of Chuck Schumer, man. Shout out to those clouts, man. Appreciate you, baller.
That's the fight inside the Democratic Party, and it's not going away all the way through their presidential nominating process.
Thank you, Byron. Still need to put some oil in the gears, but they'll do that step by step in the Senate, the House, and then eventually the Oval Office. Thank you.
I believe none of those senators we just put
Thank
up,
you,
I don't
guys.
think any of them have an election next year.
Might be right about that. Dick Durbin's one of them.
All right, so remember what I told y'all. They looking to get rid of Chuck Schumer, guys. Here goes some of the leaders basically speaking as the Senate moves forward with a deal to end the government shutdown.
President, in order to place the bill on the calendar under the provisions of Rule 14, I would object to further proceeding.
The objection is heard. The bill will be placed
This
on
is
the calendar.
Throne, a Republican.
Mr. President, I'm glad to be able to say that 8 Democrats joined Republicans last night to take the first step to reopen the government. And in the very near future, we will be voting on a final package, a clean continuing resolution until January the 30th, and 3 bipartisan full-year appropriations bills. These bills are the military, construction, VA, agriculture, and legislative branch appropriations. 3 of the 12 bills that Congress needs to pass on an annual basis. And what that means, Mr. President, is that year-long funding for SNAP, for WIC, for veterans, for essential farm programs, and for a number of other critical priorities will be met. Mr. President, I said that we will be voting on the final package in the very near future, and I'm hoping that will be hours and not days. We're on the 41st day of this shutdown. Nutrition benefits are in jeopardy. Air travel is an extremely precarious situation. Our staffs and many other government workers have been working for nearly 6 weeks without pay.
Gillian says, to my fellow veterans, happy Veterans Day tomorrow. Thank you for your service, Army vets. I already appreciate it, Gillian. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to all the veterans out there. Let's get 30 more on that like button, man. Let's double tap that screen, guys. A lot of y'all just been sitting up in here watching the content, not hitting the like button. Let's double tap that screen, guys, if you're on a mobile device. Double tap your screen or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. We should be well past about 300 likes right now. We should really have about 500 likes right now, but y'all are being hesitant on that like button. Let's double tap that screen, guys. Get the likes up. Click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up, man. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're most definitely on the road to 55K. I think we need like 500 subscribers to get there. Let's get those likes and subscriptions all the way up. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. This is government shutdown, day 41, the longest in U.S. history, guys.
It's been an hour talking about all the problems we've seen, which have snowballed the longer this shutdown has gone on. But all of us, Democrat and Republican, who voted for last night's bill are well aware of the facts. And I'm grateful that the end is in sight. But I would encourage every member of this body, Democrat or Republican, pro-bill or anti-bill, not to stand in the way of our being able to deliver the coming relief quickly. The American people have suffered for long enough. Let's not pointlessly drag this bill out. Let's get it done, get it over to the House, so that we can get this government open. Mr. President, as I have emphasized since being elected Majority Leader last November, I remain deeply committed to advancing full-year appropriations bills through regular order. And we've drafted this continuing resolution to extend to January 30th specifically to give us more time to get this bipartisan work done. I look forward to taking up additional appropriations bills on the floor in the near future. Mr. President, after 41 days, I'm grateful to be able to say that we are close to getting the government reopened.
Thank you, Cut Up Girl.
And again, I ask all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, of both parties, to make it possible for us to quickly pass this bill. Mr. President, I yield the floor. I suggest the absence of a quorum.
So, Mr. President, the
Flip
last
Mode.
41 days
Chuck
have exposed
Schumer
the
himself.
depths of Donald Trump's cruelty. He shut the government down longer than any president in American
Thank you,
history.
Reed.
Took innocent kids, veterans, federal workers as hostages, political hostages, all because he refuses to do anything to fix the health care crisis, and instead keeps pushing policies that will cut people's coverage even more. Look no further than Donald Trump's war on SNAP. Last night, the First Circuit reaffirmed what lower courts have already said. Donald Trump cannot take 42 million hungry people as hostages. He cannot withhold the benefits they need for food for their families. Even now, Donald Trump isn't satisfied. Today, even more cruel,
And cut up,
he
girl.
appealed to the Supreme Court yet again to try and get out of paying full SNAP benefits. The president's done a lot of cruel, nasty, mean things over the years. But going all the way up to the Supreme Court, not once but twice, to ensure kids go hungry is about as cruel a thing as he's ever done. Donald Trump would rather make hungry Americans suffer, make kids suffer, make veterans go hungry and disabled individuals suffer, than do anything to lower health care costs for the American people. The American people will not forget Donald Trump's cruelty and heartlessness over the last 6 weeks. And let me say something else.
Thanks,
The
positive
American
vibes.
people have now awoken to Trump's health care crisis. Health care is once again at the forefront of people's minds. People now see that premiums are about to skyrocket. They're terrified about how they're going to pay for their insurance. Democrats demanded that we find a way to fix this crisis and quickly, but Republicans have refused to move an inch. So I cannot support the Republican bill that's on the floor because it fails to do anything of substance to fix America's health care crisis. The health care crisis is causing millions of families back home sleepless nights because they don't know how
Thank
they're going to
y'all.
afford
Thank you,
healthcare
Miss Pooh
insurance
Bear.
so much
Shout out
needed
to
by
the
their
love.
families.
Thank y'all.
Doing nothing is unacceptable, but that's the choice the Republican side made in obeisance to Donald Trump. Republicans now own this health care crisis. They knew it was coming. We wanted to fix it. Republicans said no, and now it's on them. When people's out-of-pocket costs double or triple, very soon Americans will know Republicans made it happen. When 60-year-old couples start paying $20,000 a year for health insurance, they'll know Republicans made it happen. When 4 million Americans lose insurance, when kids with cancer are priced out of coverage, when families face financial ruin, they'll know Republicans made it happen. And the pain will only get worse as more and more people on ACA and with private insurance see their premiums go up and up and up. People out there are struggling. It's harder to make ends meet. Rent is up, groceries are up, people's electricity bills have gone up, and now thanks to Republicans, health care costs will spike dramatically. The past few weeks have exposed with shocking clarity how warped Republican priorities truly are. While people's health care costs have gone up, Republicans have come across as a party preoccupied with ballrooms, Argentina bailouts, and private jets. Republicans' breach of trust with the American people is deep and perhaps irreversible. And now that they have failed to do anything to prevent premiums from going up, the anger that Americans feel against Donald Trump and the Republicans is going to get worse. Republicans had their chance to fix this and they blew it. Americans will remember Republican intransigence every time they make a sky-high payment on health insurance. Yield the floor. Note the absence of a quorum.
All right, we hold on. Let's focus a little bit on Schumer, guys. Remember, I told y'all he is facing a lot of blowback behind this. Check this out. Hold on, let me get it up here. Yeah, they are most definitely looking to get rid of Schumer, guys. Check this out.
And Paul was the only GOP no vote.
The package will fund the government through the end of January, but in a major blow to progressives, it does not include a deal on Obamacare subsidies. It merely guarantees a vote on the tax credits at a future date. Still, the Dems who did vote for the bill say they were able to extract enough concessions to get them to cross party lines, like reversing the firings of furloughed workers.
This is the beginning to show and fight for Americans across the country. Let me just say this, with the government open, we can focus on passing a full bipartisan budget for 2026.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome.
It was our judgment, after 6 weeks, going on 7 weeks of
Hold
this
on, I
shutdown,
think we already showed y'all this one.
path.
I already showed y'all this one. Hold on. Let's go to this other one about Schumer. We ain't done yet. I already showed y'all that one. Let's go here.
Raging this morning because this deal does not include their crown jewel issue. The one thing that they have been fighting for the last 40 days, that is to extend the Obamacare subsidies. It's not in this package. So last night, instead, those eight centrists agreed with Republicans on this deal to hold a vote on the Obamacare subsidies later on in December. There's no guarantee that that vote is going to pass. There's no guarantee the House would ever take it up. Here are some of those centrists explaining why they went for this.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome.
It was our judgment, after 6 weeks, going on 7 weeks of this shutdown, that path wasn't working.
So Democrats are furious. Some of them are calling for Chuck Schumer's head and saying that this was a huge mistake. Gavin Newsom writing on X, tonight's Senate vote on the federal government shutdown should have been a time for strength. Instead, we saw capitulation and a betrayal of working Americans. The American people need more from their leaders. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson has not officially recalled the House, but he did tell his House members to begin their journeys back to the Hill because he wants to get this done as quickly as possible. The Senate is trying to work on a time agreement right now to skip all the Senate steps to get to final passage. That could happen sometime in the next 2 days. Harris?
Aisha, that's really important because that would really speed up this timeline if there were steps to be kind of pushed to the side for this purpose. I'll get into that with my first guest. Great to see you. Thank you very much. Well, while Democrats fight against the plan to end the record-breaking shutdown, air travel is only getting worse for everybody right now in America. We are on the 4th day of the FAA cutting flights from 40 of the largest airports in the U.S. The number of flights that have been cut will go up another 2% tomorrow. So this is like a phase-in progressive thing until they get to a lot of them on the ground. And we're just hopeful that they can work through the process, as Aisha just talked about, to keep this from hitting Thanksgiving and that travel. Those flight disruptions look like they will only get worse, more severe during that busiest holiday travel period at this point. Today alone, more than 1,600 flights already have been canceled. More than 3,000 flights delayed already. It's not even noon yet on the East Coast. That comes after another brutal travel nightmare over the weekend. More than 4,500 flights canceled, a staggering 18,000 flights delayed. And not by a little bit either. Newark was cooking at about 893 minutes on Thursday and Friday at one point. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
It's only going to get worse. I look to, the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, you're going to see air travel be reduced to a trickle. I used to have about 4 controllers retire a day before the shutdown. I'm now up to 15 to 20 a day are retiring. So it's going to be harder for me to come back after the shutdown. The only political play here is Chuck Schumer. The safety team looked at data, made a recommendation to me, and it's a hard decision, but that's what we've done to keep people safe.
It is hard decision time. The Democrats know all about that as they caved. Thank God for the country. National correspondent Brian Yennis is at Newark International Airport. Brian, I was just saying to our viewers that some of those wait times.
So there are air traffic controllers that are quitting. There are some that are taking their vacation time right now, you know, because they're not getting paid. And I am a fan of not going to work if you're not getting paid. I'm just saying. But Trump has something to say about these air traffic controllers. He most definitely got issued a threat to them. Check this out. I'm going to let y'all see it in a second after this.
How's it looking now?
Well, it's looking like right now there are just 15-minute delays on the runway. There are about over 100 cancellations, about 100 delays. So far, not as bad as yesterday, but the cancellations and delays just continue to go up. Yesterday was the worst travel day at airports since this shutdown began. And frankly, it was largely because of air traffic controllers who were calling out and not showing up for work. The transportation secretary says that was due to economic necessity. President Trump, though, this morning has a message, though, for those air traffic controllers, saying he is not happy for those who are not showing up for work. President Trump writing, quote, "All air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked. For those air traffic controllers who were great patriots and didn't take any time off for the Democrat shutdown hoax, I will be recommending a bonus of $10,000 per person for distinguished service to our country."
Oh, wow.
On Saturday, just for an example, 18 of 22 air traffic controllers did not show up for work in Atlanta. Controller shortages compounded nationwide on Sunday, leading to more than 10,000 delays and nearly 3,000 cancellations. The FAA is also mandating those airlines to further reduce their flights by 6% tomorrow and by 10% this Friday. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the decision to reduce the flight numbers is about safety, not politics. He's also sympathizing with many of these air traffic controllers who are missing work, he says, because they have to put food on the table, working other gigs. As for today, if you look at FlightAware's misery map, there are more than 2,700 delays and over 1,600 cancellations. The worst of it so far at both Chicago airports, Atlanta, LaGuardia, New York City, and right here in Newark, where we spoke to travelers.
Wasn't bad flying here last week, but, you know, it's hitting us today.
I feel bad for the TSA guys. I just still don't understand how they're not getting paid. I mean, it's terrible.
Everybody, you know, still needs a paycheck, but it just is what it is, you know. Regardless of what your politics are, we still need to think about others.
Even before this shutdown, Harris, the FAA says they were 3,500 air traffic controllers short of being fully staffed. You've got thousands of them who are working 10-hour days, 6 days a week, mandatory. It's a tough situation out there. Harris.
It's tough for everybody. Imagine trying to feed your kids and you need food assistance and you can't get it. Brian Yanis, thank you. Headlines highlighting Democrats' anger over advancing the bill to open the government because they just want people to continue to suffer so they can use their so-called leverage. Show me again the receipt on the leverage, because I don't get that part. Anyway, Hakeem Jeffries' progressive Democrats rage against deal to end shutdown. Another, Dems go ballistic over Senate shutdown deal. And here's part of it. The deal threatens to open the deep divisions that have been roiling the Democrat Party all year, and the widespread opposition to it among House Democrats could complicate its path to passage. Oh, great. Another slowdown. Here are some furious lawmakers on the left, in their own words.
What this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. Does anybody in the world think that makes sense?
Bernie
I can't explain it because, to be frank, to me, it makes absolutely no sense. I'm completely perplexed by today's developments.
I've been working throughout the past few weeks to try to prevent this moment. There's no way to defend this. And you are right to be angry about it. I'm angry about it.
Republican Congressman Mike Lawler of New York, member of the Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committees. Great to see you. My first question comes right out of Aisha's reporting. Apparently there's some steps on the table to shorten the process that it will take to get this back into the House, get it passed there, and then go to the president. Will we actually see those steps taken to speed this up?
Hopefully, Harris. I mean, this shutdown has dragged on for over 40 days. Democrats, in their meltdown over the last 12 hours, basically have admitted that they did this in order to try and fight back against Trump, and they used the American people as leverage. And unfortunately, they've created chaos at our airports for those Americans that rely on SNAP and WIC, and for those federal employees that have not received a paycheck in over a month. It's outrageous, and they deserve every little bit of criticism they are getting because of what they've done to the American
Lawler?
people. So I hope procedurally it moves quickly, and that when we're in D.C. On Wednesday, we get this done.
Look, I have to press this point because we now are more than stuck. We're bleeding as a nation. Like, there are people who are suffering in ways that I know you go home to New York and you hear some of it. I've been traveling crisscrossing the country in the last few days, trying to get from this to that. And it's nearly impossible to do that. And at every choke point, there are people who are trying to stretch their snacks in airport waiting areas. They just don't have the money to do what they need to do. And some of them are now trying to travel to get to a part-time job. Maybe there's something over there. Maybe I could drive there. Like, we're beyond the point of I hope. Hope is not a strategy. Prayer is, and we're going to do that. But what does it take to get this situation to speed up? What are those steps like?
Well, the Senate, unfortunately, has their procedural hurdles, which, to your point, the American people don't care about that. They care about this bill getting passed, the government reopening, federal employees getting paid, SNAP and WIC being fully funded. And so it's imperative on the Senate to expeditiously move this. I think the House needs to bring the Rules Committee back immediately. As soon as passage of that bill is done in the Senate, the House Rules Committee needs to convene, needs to pass the rule, and we need to immediately vote for passage. So I am, it's easy from New York. It takes me 4 hours to drive to D.C., given some of the air traffic issues. But we need to be back in D.C. immediately. We need to pass this. We need to get the government open and running, and we need to do the people's business. There is a lot to deal with when we get back. It's not just the government funding. So we need to get down there as quickly as possible and get this bill passed.
And I know that House Speaker will make that decision. Any indication that could happen like tomorrow?
Yeah, I think obviously tomorrow is Veterans Day, and so I would suspect this bill is going to pass by Wednesday. Okay. That would be, what I think is realistic at this moment.
Congressman Lawler, thank you very much. Great information from you. Appreciate it always.
Thanks, Harris.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno.
All right, you know what I'm saying? Now, that was a little bit about what Schumer is going through and the other Democrats who basically voted to open up the government. Here is Mike Johnson once again, along with some more Republicans and Democrats speaking on this whole situation.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very thankful to see you all this morning. I'm thankful to welcome you to what appears to be the beginning of the end of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, as shameful as that is. I don't think it's coincidental, you know how I think, but
7-minute speech.
It's after 40 days of wandering in the wilderness and making the American people suffer needlessly. Some Senate Democrats finally have stepped forward to end the pain. It appears to us this morning that our long national nightmare is finally coming to an end, and we're grateful for that. At least some Democrats now finally appear ready to do what Republicans and President Trump and millions of hardworking American people have been asking them to do for weeks. As we said from the beginning, the people's government cannot be held hostage to further anyone's political agenda. That was never right. And shutting down the government never produces anything. It never has, if you study history. And so here we are. I want to remind everybody this morning of another critical point that you've heard me here repeat over and over the last several weeks. It's something that I and Leader John Thune and President Trump and every Republican leader have all said repeatedly from the beginning. We have always been open to finding solutions to reduce the oppressive costs of health care under the Unaffordable Care Act. We just made clear that we would not and should not ever do that. That is, negotiate as hostages. And I've also reminded you here every morning at this press conference throughout the shutdown, Republicans have not just been talking about reducing costs and fraud and abuse in so many areas and in healthcare. We've been actually passing new laws to accomplish that urgent mission for the people, and we will continue to do so. So here's where we are by way of schedule, just so you know, you're following. And if you're not at home, if you're waking up to this good news this morning, the Senate's vote late last night of 60 to 40 opens the door now. The Senate is moving forward on an amended House CR, a continuing resolution, that will reopen the government until January 30th. Added to that are provisions to fully fund SNAP provisions through the end of the next fiscal year, which is September 2026, guaranteed back pay for all federal workers who have been made to endure these hardships over the last several weeks. And it also includes passage of 3 appropriations bills, which we're grateful to be moving through the process. That is the Military Construction Veterans Affairs bill, it's the Agriculture bill, and the Legislative Branch bill. The Senate will be back in session this morning to finish their job, and we're certainly praying that they do. They'll need unanimous consent from all senators to fast-track their final vote. As you know, there are some procedural hurdles that one or more could throw in the way, but we certainly hope that they won't do that because so many people across this country are desperate for the government to reopen. At the very moment that they do that final vote, I will call all House members to return to Washington as quickly as possible. We'll give a 36-hour formal and official notice so that we can vote as soon as possible to pass the amended CR bill and get it to the president's desk. As you all know, and he said as recently as last night, I was with him, and he told the press, he said, we want to get the government open. He's very anxious to get the government reopened and to end the Schumer shutdown. We all are. With regard to the travel challenges, I spoke yesterday at some length with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, my former colleague and good friend, and he lamented the serious situation that we have with air travel in the U.S. He's bent over backwards, as all members of the administration and the cabinet have done in all of their areas of jurisdiction, to try to keep the government working for the people and to mitigate the pain and the harm.
What's up,
The problem we have with air travel is that our air traffic controllers are overworked and unpaid, and many of them have called in sick. It's a very stressful job and even more stressful exponentially when they're having trouble providing for their families. And so air travel has been grinding to a halt in many places. And as of Sunday, nearly half of all domestic flights and U.S. flights were either canceled or delayed. And it's a very serious situation. So I'm saying that by way of reminder. I'm stating the obvious to all my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats in the House. You need to begin right now returning to the Hill. We have to do this as quickly as possible. Now, we look forward to the government reopening this week so Congress can get back to our regular legislative session. We have a lot of business to do, as you all know, and we will be working in earnest. There'll be long days and long nights here for the foreseeable future to make up for all this lost time that was imposed upon us. I want to close with something that's important. I think it's important to say that this is genuine. I mean this sincerely. We applaud the 7 Senate Democrats and 1 independent senator who did the right thing. They decided to put principle over their personal politics. And my urgent plea of all my colleagues in the House, and that means every Democrat in the House, is to think carefully, pray, and finally do the right thing and help us to bring an end to the pain of the American people. This has gone on too long. Too many people have suffered, and it's long overdue. That's the update I wanted to give you this morning. There are probably lots of questions, but I'm going to get a lot of my own questions answered later today, so stay tuned for more. Thanks so much.
From the very beginning of this year, Donald Trump and Republicans have failed to deliver on their core promise to lower the high cost of living in the United States of America. In fact, what Donald Trump and Republicans said is that costs were going to go down on day one. But costs haven't gone down. They're going up. Inflation is going up. Under Republican policies, housing costs are going up. Childcare costs are going up. Grocery costs are going up. Electricity prices are through the roof. And now, because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, tens of millions of Americans are about to experience dramatically increased health care costs. In some cases, Their health insurance premiums.
Make sure if you guys just got here, you take time to double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those 3 dots and hit the thumbs up. That's how you hit the like button. You can simply double tap the screen on your mobile device or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new. This is everything that we know about the government shutdown, day 41. We already heard from Jeffries. We're going to skip past his speech and we're going to go right here, man. You know what I'm saying? It says, Dems make incredible stunning turn to end the shutdown, guys. Let's go.
Now the end may be near for the longest government shutdown in history after 8 Democrats, including our next guest, voted with Republicans to break the filibuster in a key first step. Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen joins us now to talk about it. Senator, thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Can you give us?
So she is a Democratic senator, guys, that basically went to unlock the government shutdown. You know what I'm saying? She voted to unlock it. She is a Democrat. She is a senator. You know, the Senate has stepped in to basically try to get this issue resolved, guys.
And an idea, and our viewers an idea, what happened behind the scenes to have you, Senator Kane, Angus King, Catherine Cortez Masto, Jackie Rosen, and John Fetterman, as well as Maggie Hassan and Dick Durbin, all come together to get to the 60 threshold. Can you bring us behind the scenes for that?
Well, there had been discussions going on really since the shutdown about how could we work together to end this? How could we make sure that we can address healthcare costs for the millions of Americans who are seeing their healthcare costs rise as the result of the bill that was passed in the summer that the president wanted. And so I think this agreement gives us an opportunity to continue to do that work. We're going to have a vote, and I believe there are a number of Republicans who are going to join us in trying to address healthcare costs for Americans, but we're also turning the government back on. We're making sure that the people of America can get the food benefits that they need, that air traffic controllers can get paid, that federal workers are able to come back, the ones who were let go, that they get paid, that contractors get paid, that aviation moves forward. So we are going to be able to continue to fight about health care because we're going to have a vote in December.
So Senator Chuck Schumer, your leader on the Senate, said, I cannot support a continuing resolution that fails to address health care. I am voting no. Did you do this outside leadership, and was there a big push for you not to join the others and break the 60 threshold?
No, we kept leadership informed throughout. And I think it's important to remember who's responsible for why we got into this shutdown. We are here because we are concerned about the healthcare costs rising significantly on millions of Americans. And we didn't have any indication before the shutdown started that our Republican colleagues were willing to address it. Now, Speaker Johnson is going to have to bring the House back in. He's been AWOL since the beginning of September when we were in the middle of the shutdown. Leader Thune has agreed that we will have a bill that we will write that will give us an opportunity to work on those health care costs. And we believe there are a lot of Republicans, including a lot of Trump supporters, who want to see us do something about this because their costs are going up. If you look at who benefits from these premium tax credits, 76% of the recipients are in states that Donald Trump won in the last presidential election.
Right, and just to give you people at home an idea of how everyone weighed in, this came down late last night. A lot of people who were still in bed did not know it. Bernie Sanders comes out and says it was a very bad night. I told you what Schumer said. And then Ro Khanna over in the House says Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. If you can't lead the right to stop health care and premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? Well, after the longest shutdown in history, I think that's fighting. But what is your take on what Ro Khanna is saying? Do you think Chuck Schumer should leave leadership?
Well, I hope that people who are concerned about health care will stay focused on who's responsible for why we're in this situation. It's because Speaker Johnson has been unwilling to take up legislation. It's because President Trump has failed to weigh in and understand what a big issue this is for Americans. Now, hopefully, both of them will now figure out that they've got to do something about this because people are hurting. President Trump talked a lot about affordability over the weekend. Well, this is a big affordability issue for millions of Americans. We need to do something about it. This agreement gives us an opportunity to continue that fight.
Senator, you're known as one of the most reasonable people in the Senate. So as much as healthcare is an issue, you know better than anyone when those healthcare subsidies were passed. That was supposed to sunset. That was how it was written. So they never were supposed to continue to begin with. It's just even though the objective of giving people quality healthcare is always admirable, continuing these subsidies was never the intent of the Democratic president.
No, I just disagree with that. I sponsored the legislation in 2019 that was introduced. I sponsored it again when we did it during COVID. I sponsored it again when we did it after COVID. And I urged an extension of these affordable tax credits because I knew how important they are to millions of Americans who are now not going to be able to afford their health insurance. And that's going to have a ripple effect throughout the health system. So this is something that we have tried to extend for literally months this year. And we have been 4 times I moved to extend those affordable premium tax credits. And 4 times they were denied by the majority in the Senate.
And Senator, do you agree that the reason why you need additional subsidies is because the Obamacare Affordable Care Act isn't working? These are emergency fixes. It's spackle on something that's bursting at the seams. Do you agree with that?
Actually, I don't agree with that. In New Hampshire, we have had 4 consecutive years where we have both reduced the number of people who are uninsured and reduced the costs of premiums. Now, is there work we need to do? Absolutely. And I hope now that Republicans and the president will come to the table and agree that we need to address health care more broadly for those people who can't afford it.
I think it's a great point. Now, do you think that others might join you and get past the 60? Or do you worry about the 60 threshold being somewhat tenuous and pressure could change people's vote by the time we have the real vote?
No, I don't worry about that because I think people are looking at the millions of Americans who have been affected by this shutdown, the people who are struggling to get food. And I was disappointed that President Trump has refused to fund the SNAP benefits, the first president during a shutdown who refused to make sure that people could continue to eat.
But you know that
we need to address
that was put forward as a solo option, and it was rejected. You know, they only had the same Democrats voting for it. There was SNAP benefits, individual, military pay, individual, and it was all rejected.
But we're in an agreement now that will fund those food benefits for people. It will bring back federal employees who were let go during the shutdown. It will make sure that everybody gets their back pay, that contractors get their back pay. That's important. We need to get this economy moving again. That's why what I'm focused on, as well as making sure we get a vote and we do something about the cost of health care for millions of Americans.
And I'm sure Senator Thune gives you his word is good. And I'm sure you believe that.
I believe his word is good.
I do too. Thanks so much for doing this. Thanks for doing the show. And hopefully it's a glide path to getting our government open again. Thanks, Senator.
So good morning. Could the end be in sight? We look for the focus point now. After 40 days of pain, some Democrats appear to be waving the white flag and moving to reopen the government while deepening their party's divide. So watch all the nuance in this story. Picked it up over the weekend. We pick it up today. I'm Bill Hemmer on a Monday morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you, too. I'm Dana Perino, and this is America's Newsroom. Happy Monday to everyone. So 8 senators who caucus with Democrats have broken rank with their party to advance a Republican plan to end the shutdown. A vote is still to come. The measure will then head to the House for final passage.
So the group is doing this despite getting no guarantees on their one big demand. That was an extension of the tax credits for Obamacare subsidies. And that's drawing fury from some fellow Democrats. After 40 days of furloughs, though, and flight cancellations, the group says it was simply time.
Let me just say this. With the government open, we can focus on passing a full bipartisan budget for 2026.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement. But waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome.
It was our judgment, after 6 weeks, going on 7 weeks of this shutdown, that path wasn't working.
Aisha Hosni has the latest from Capitol Hill, and I'm sure that those senators can smell jet fumes and the possibility of being able to leave.
Hey, Dana and Bill, good morning to you. It's been a stunning couple of hours here on Capitol Hill. Think about this. Think about the No Kings rallies, the massive rallies nationwide. Think about 40 days of a government shutdown. Think about last Tuesday's election results. All for what? The Democrats accepted an offer that was always on the table. There is about to be a reckoning in this party when the House comes back to the Hill. Here's what happened last night. 8 centrist Senate Democrats, they voted alongside Republicans to break the filibuster, and that unlocks the door to ending the government shutdown. Here's the deal. It is a CR, a continuing resolution to fund the government through the end of January. It restores SNAP benefits. It rehires workers who were laid off during the shutdown, and it also passes a couple of funding bills. The shutdown deal skips their crown jewel, the whole reason they were fighting in the first place, to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Instead, they got a promise to hold a vote on it in December. Let me be clear about this. It's not a vote right now. There's no guarantee it's going to pass, no guarantee the House would ever even take it up. Here are some of those Democrats explaining why they voted yes.
It wasn't working. How long would it take to not get a response to say it isn't working?
There was no vote.
So the Senate Democrats feel like what Schumer and them was doing was not working, and it's time to bring it to an end, guys.
We were going to get on the Affordable Care Act, premium tax credits. We have a guaranteed vote by a guaranteed date on a bill that we will write, not that the Republicans will write.
Democratic base is furious. There are folks out there that are calling for Chuck Schumer's head for not holding out on this. And Dana, this is just the first big step. The Senate now has to try to come to a time agreement to skip a bunch of other Senate steps to get to the final passage. If they can pass it today, maybe tomorrow, they can send it over to the House, and then the Speaker will recall the House, bring everybody back, and then they'll try to get it done sometime this week. Dana?
Aisha, thank you so much.
So Byron York now here to talk about this following on X all weekend. Byron, let's talk about the fallout. Democrats did not have the votes. In fact, they've never had the votes for this.
You know, it's been a rocky road, but the end result of this has been clear from day one, which is the party that loses a government shutdown is the party that attaches conditions to reopening the government. In all of our shutdowns, we've had one party that says, oh, my issue is so important that I simply cannot allow the government to keep functioning until we address it. And the other side says, well, wait a minute, let's get the government running and then we'll talk about your issue. And the party that attaches the conditions is the party that always ends up giving up because the public gets tired of the government being shut down. This one went longer than most, and the public is really tired of it.
You know who else is tired of it, or tired of each other? It's the Democratic Party. Most of the headlines today are about Democratic infighting, which I think is to the Republicans' benefit, and the Democrats are going to have to go through this one way or the other. Ro Khanna, the congressman from California, said this: Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. If you can't lead the fight to stop healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? And then that governor from California, Governor Newsom, he said this: tonight's Senate vote on the federal government shutdown should have been a time for strength. Instead, we saw capitulation and a betrayal of working Americans. The American people need more from their leaders. And that's actually mild. If you saw what some of the other Democrats were saying, they used a lot of words that begin with the letter F.
This is just incredible. It's Monday morning. Last Wednesday morning, we were talking about Democrats savoring their victory, having gotten over their slump, having new momentum. That's all we were talking about 5 days ago. And now it's Democrats involved in a bitter civil war. Well, these are tensions that always existed inside the Democratic Party between its progressive wing and a dwindling number of people who call themselves centrists. And we just saw it. We basically have 40 Democrats in the Senate who wanted to hang tough and keep this shutdown going forever, apparently. And 7 or 8 of them who decided that it was time to give in. That's the fight inside the Democratic Party, and it's not going away all the way through their presidential nominating process.
Thank you, Byron. Still need to put some oil in the gears, but they'll do that step by step in the Senate, the House, and then eventually the Oval Office.
All right, so that was a little bit more about those 8 senators, guys, Democratic senators, that basically decided to step away from the party and try to get a resolution to this whole situation. It says Senate leaders weigh in ahead of government shutdown. This was the test vote, guys.
With 2,300 cancellations and counting today, Sunday, we will go down as one of the worst days in air travel. I've never seen anything good come from a government shutdown. Lapses in federal funding have made it harder for families to access SNAP benefits. Head Start programs have been put on pause, and thousands of federal employees are unable to receive a paycheck. This dysfunction is damaging enough to our constituents and economy here at home, but it also sends a dangerous message to the watching world. It demonstrates to our allies that we are an unreliable partner, and it signals to our adversaries that we can't work together to meet even the most fundamental responsibilities of Congress. As this shutdown continues, I want to particularly focus on the impact of this lapse funding is having on the aviation industry. TSA agents and air traffic controllers have had to continue working while missing 2 paychecks. It's a stressful job and one that has grown increasingly more difficult throughout the year. Combine that with uncertainty on how to pay rent, put food on the table, and gas in your car. It is no surprise that we're seeing more and more controllers not show up to work. We are already facing a shortage of controllers, and
so
now,
as we see, the situation with the air traffic controllers is a big deal, guys. Trump commented on it, as well as the Senate and other folks are talking about these air traffic controllers not going to work, which are causing delays, and basically shutdowns of our aviation, people traveling. Yeah, it's a big deal, guys. They got to get this government open and get people paid if they expect for anything to move forward.
we are seeing more having to pick up second jobs to pay the bills, or seeing some quit entirely. Our inaction and our inability to gain consensus are deterring young people interested in futures such as air traffic controllers or other aviation professionals from pursuing those careers. The vulnerabilities in our aviation system has led Secretary Sean Duffy to begin reducing flights by 10% at 40 major airports. Airlines, businesses, and general aviation alike are cutting into their operations to make certain that airspace is as safe as possible. It is critical to know that these impacts are not lopsided on those high traffic areas. Small and medium hub airports, such as we have in Kansas, that connect to those 40 are experiencing this pain just as much. While this is a painful step, it is necessary for the safety of the traveling public, and I support Secretary Duffy's decisions. American Airlines indicated to me they've canceled more than 240 flights yesterday and delayed more than 1,000 flights, impacting more than 150,000 passengers. Airlines for America said that staffing shortages disrupted the flights of more than 4 million passengers from October 1 to November the 7th on their partner airlines. And that was before the mandatory reductions were put in place by the Department of Transportation. We can expect more cuts if we do not reopen the government.
What's up with it, Ghetto?
We saw how fragile our air system is, and it's the reason I highlight aviation and the consequences of the shutdown tonight. We saw how fragile our air system is earlier this year when a series of failures led to a mid-air collision on January the 29th, which claimed the lives of 67, including those of Kansas. That accident forced Congress and our nation to reckon with an issue that has plagued us for decades. Why have we not effectively modernized our airspace system? Since that crash, steps have been taken to train more controllers and improve the aviation system, including a $12.5 billion investment in modernizing our airspace. But those efforts are becoming much more difficult to accomplish during a shutdown. Unfortunately, the position of the aviation industry it finds itself in today cannot be easily solved, but we cannot even begin to solve it unless we reopen the government. Every day we remain shut down, the fragility of this system intensifies. Thanksgiving is only 18 days away. Americans are purchasing or would have purchased or already purchased tickets to be with their families. If we remain in a shutdown much longer, it will become increasingly difficult for airlines to deliver on their promises to their customers. The circumstances we are in cannot continue. We must reopen the government. I urge my colleagues to pass a clean continuing resolution to reopen government. I'm committed to working with my colleagues, to address the concerns they have and any issues brought forth by the shutdown. We must return to regular order, advance a clean CR and these 3 appropriation bills, and then consider further appropriations and these issues so that many of us care so deeply about. Our constituents and our nation depend upon us to do so. Mr. President, I note the absence of a quorum.
Ms. Alston-Brooks.
Speak for up to 5 minutes each.
Senator Collins, Senator Schumer, Senator Sanders, and me. Without objection. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Senator from Maine.
Mr. President, today the Senate Appropriations Committee advanced legislation to reopen government immediately, funding vital programs and resuming pay for federal workers who, for the last 40 days, have had to live with the stress of missed paychecks and not knowing when they would be paid. Under our legislation, all federal employees, including members of our military and Coast Guard, the Capitol Police officers, Border Patrol agents, TSA screeners, air traffic controllers, all will receive their back wages. It is significant that this measure also includes 3 full-year, fiscal year 2026 appropriations bills, including the annual agriculture FDA bill, the military construction and Veterans Affairs legislation, very timely given that Veterans Day will soon be upon us, and the legislative branch funding. This 3-bill package, which originally passed the Senate on August 1st with overwhelming bipartisan support, 87 votes in 2 cases, 81 in another, will support our veterans, our troops, our farmers, and rural communities. Of note, this package will provide full-year funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, and the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for women, infants, and children, known as WIC. One of the most unfortunate and shameful consequences of the shutdown has been that these vital nutrition programs were in jeopardy for our most vulnerable families, including 170,000 Mainers who rely on the SNAP program. Other programs will be funded through January 30th, while the Senate and House continue our work on the remainder of the year-long appropriations bills. For example, funding for important programs like Head Start, and such as the Low-Income Heating Assistance Program will now be restored. I look forward to voting for this legislation and ending the unnecessary harm to the security of our families and our nations. We must begin to act tonight. We must not delay any longer. Finally, Mr. President, I want to thank the many members on both sides of the aisle of the Appropriations Committee and the Senate leadership who have worked especially hard to bring this package together. And I would be remiss if I did not also thank our staff. My staff missed an entire night's sleep to get this package together and get the job done. Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I want to particularly thank the members of the Appropriations Committee, including the three who served as the subcommittee chairs, Senator Bozeman, Senator Hoven, and Senator Mullen. I want to thank Senator Britt, who did an extraordinary amount of work, Lisa Murkowski, Mike Rounds, Jerry Moran, Sherry Moore Capito, Sidney Hyde-Smith, Deb Fisher. There's so many who worked so hard on this package. I want to thank each and every one of them. Let's get the job done, and let's do it fast. Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Hoven in my list. Senator Hoven was a rock star, so I want to make sure that I mentioned him. Thank you.
Senator from Vermont.
I understand that the way the process has been developed, it is impossible to delay the votes that are going to take place. And if that were not the case, that is certainly what I would do, because I think it is important that the American people fully understand what is being voted on today. Everybody in America knows that our current healthcare system is broken. It is dysfunctional. It is cruel. It is by far the most expensive healthcare system in the world, and the only healthcare system of any major country that does not guarantee healthcare to all people as a human right, covering every man, woman, and child. We are unique in that respect. And yet tonight, what this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. So let's be clear what this vote is about. If this vote succeeds, over 20 million Americans are going to see at least a doubling in their premiums in the Affordable Care Act. In my state of Vermont and throughout this country, for certain groups of people, it will be a tripling and a quadrupling of their premiums. There are people who will now be paying 50% of their limited income for health care. Does anybody in the world think that makes sense? And if this resolution is passed tonight, we are on a pathway to throw 15 million Americans off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. 15 million. Our job is to create universal health care. Guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child, not throw 15 million people off the health care they have, low income and working class people. And my friends, know what you are voting on. Studies are out there that when you throw 15 million people off health care, some 50,000 of our fellow Americans will die unnecessarily every single year. Anyone think that's funny? Something
15 million, guys.
Something you just go past? I don't. 50,000 Americans die unnecessarily. Now, I know as part of this resolution that the majority leader is going to say, well, Democrats can put together their own bill, and it'll come to the floor here in the Senate for a vote. As everybody here knows, that is a totally meaningless gesture. You can get 100 votes here in the Senate. Won't mean anything because the House is not going to take it up, and the President of the United States certainly will not sign it. So, Mr. President, I hope that anybody here who is thinking of voting for this reconsiders, goes back home and talks to their constituents and asks them what it will mean.
if their healthcare premiums are doubled or tripled. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Democratic leader.
Mr. President, America is in the midst of a Republican-made healthcare crisis, worse than anything the American people have seen in decades. Republicans have spent the past 10 months dismantling the healthcare system, skyrocketing costs, and making every day harder for American families. Because of Republicans, Americans are going to suffer immensely as this healthcare crisis gets worse. Democrats have been fighting to end this crisis over and over again. Democrats have wanted to lower costs, but Republicans fought us every step of the way. We gave Republicans not one, not two, but 3 chances this year to extend the ACA premium tax credits. Republicans said no every time. On Friday, we offered Republicans a compromise, a proposal that would extend the ACA tax credits for a year and open up the government at the same time. They once again said no. And when they said no on our compromise, they showed that they are against any health care reform. Instead, they passed the biggest health care cuts in our nation's history just to give tax breaks to billionaires. And even then, they weren't satisfied with merely closing hospitals and community health clinics. They callously did nothing to deal with the looming crisis of ACA credits. Premiums will spike by thousands of dollars a month. Millions will lose insurance. Democrats have sounded the alarm. We have demanded for months to meet with the Republican leadership. But Republican leaders refuse to even discuss the issue, let alone negotiate it. We've asked them to meet in the summer and throughout the shutdown. To this day, Republicans still say no. We asked President Trump to step in and meet with us to deliver lower health care for Americans, and instead, Donald Trump has taken the American people hostage, from cutting off food aid to hungry families and vets and seniors and kids, to manufacturing flight cancellations, to cutting off home heating aid, while he builds a $1 billion ballroom with gold-plated toilets. Therefore, I must vote no. This healthcare crisis is so severe, so urgent, so devastating for families back home that I cannot in good faith support this CR that fails to address the healthcare crisis. But let me be clear, however this vote turns out, this fight will and must continue. Democrats must fight because of millions of families will lose health care coverage. We must fight because children who are dying of cancer will not get health care coverage. We must fight because a senior citizen cannot afford to pay $25,000 a year just for health insurance. We must fight to keep millions from financial ruin. And make no mistake about it, the American people know who is inflicting this healthcare trauma on them: Donald Trump and the Republicans. Americans will remember a Republican intransigence every time they make a sky-high payment on health insurance. So we are going to fight legislatively, fight back home, fight in the courts, and bring this fight in the elections. Healthcare costs made a major impact on the 2025 election, and they will certainly have an even greater impact on the 2026 election. So in conclusion, the contrast between the two parties is crystal clear. Republicans are the party hell-bent on taking people's health care away, all to bow to the billionaire elite and special interests. Democrats are united as the party of lower health care costs and improving our health care system. We will not give up this fight. We will deliver for the American people. I yield the floor.
Let's go.
And after 40 long days,
Hopefully, Mr. President, Majority Leader, Mr. President, after 40 long days, hopefully we can finally bring this shutdown to an end. I don't need to go over all the reasons why it's imperative that we get the government open as soon as possible. From the
truly precarious situation we are in with regard to air travel, to the fact that our staffs have been working without pay for a full 40 days now, all of us, Republicans and Democrats who support this bill, know that the time to act is now. And so in just a few minutes, I will call up the vehicle for a clean continuing resolution packaged with 3 bipartisan year-long appropriations bills: agricultural appropriations, military construction, VA appropriations, and legislative branch appropriations. These bills will fund SNAP for the entire fiscal year. They will fund WIC for the entire fiscal year. And they will fund our veterans for the entire fiscal year. After 40 days of uncertainty, I'm profoundly glad to be able to announce that nutrition programs, our veterans, and other critical priorities will have their full year funding. And my goal is to quickly move to other full year appropriations bills. As I've said many times, I firmly believe that the way to fund the government is by passing appropriations bills through regular order, a process that gives senators from both parties the fullest chance to make their voices heard. Mr. President, I also want to mention health care. There's been a lot of talk over the last several weeks on both sides of the aisle about the health care crisis in this country. And I'm thankful to be able to say that we have senators, both Democrat and Republican, who are eager to get to work to address that crisis in a bipartisan way. These senators are not interested in political games. They're interested in finding real ways to address health care costs for American families. We also have a president who is willing to sit down and get to work on this issue. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what solutions might be brought forward. Regardless, as I have said for weeks to my Democrat friends, I will schedule a vote on their proposal, and I've committed to having that vote no later than the second week in December. Mr. President, again, I am optimistic that after almost 6 weeks of this shutdown, we'll finally be able to end it. I will call up that bill in a matter of minutes, and I look forward to passing the clean continuing resolution and appropriations bill package in the very near future. Now, Mr. President, I move to proceed to the motion to reconsider the cloture vote on October 16th on the motion to proceed to H.R. 5371.
The question's on the motion. All in favor?
All right, so that was something from both parties, guys. The Democrats as well as the Republicans, man. You know what I'm saying? Those 8 most definitely stood out, man, you know, when it comes to this whole situation. Now, Trump most definitely had something to say, and he held a little press conference in the Oval Office today, you know, where he basically spoke as well. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick. Give me a second, y'all. Give me a second to pull this up. With Trump, guys. We got words from Trump. You know, he most definitely had some things to say. Let me see where it's at. Hold on. Give me a second, y'all. Man, make sure you double tapping that screen. Take time to double tap the screen. Click the 3 dots. Hit the thumbs up, man. Most definitely subscribe to the channel if you are new. Hold on. Give me half a second, y'all. Let's go here. All right, hold on. Let's see what Trump was doing today in his live conference, guys.
We'll be helping with all of that. We had an amazing meeting the other night at the White House, and I'm confident that Sergio will do an outstanding job and make our country and all of his friends very proud. But I'm very proud of Sergio. I've known him for a long time, and he's a great guy. And most people love him. Some people don't like him so much. I'll be honest with you, Sergio. I said some people, when they don't like Sergio, they don't like him. But when they like him more than anybody. But most of them really are on the like category. And I just want to say that I think he's going to be an outstanding representative for the United States of America. And it's a big deal. Being the ambassador to India is a big deal. So, Sergio, congratulations. I know you're going to do a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
Okay, swear him in here.
Left hand, right hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. I appreciate the assistance. We have such a crowd here, you'd think we're swearing in a vice president, sir. Okay. Please repeat after me. I, Sergio Gore.
I, Sergio Gore.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
of
the office on which I am about to enter.
the office of which I'm about to enter.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr.
Mr. President, this is an honor of a lifetime. I want to thank first you, what you have done for this country before you came back in, the trouble that this country was facing. I mean, frankly, we were screwed. What you have achieved in 10 months has been historic, has surpassed any other presidency, and I fully believe what you will achieve in the next 3 years will never be beaten. So it has been an honor to serve you. I've been at your side for many years. I will continue to be there. And it's just an incredible honor. And I look forward to enhancing the relationship between our two nations. But again, thank you for entrusting me with this position. And I look forward to doing a great job for you.
Thank you very much, Serge.
Well, thank you, sir. First of all, congratulations, Sergio. You're going to be a great ambassador, a great representative to the country of India, which the president and I both love. As a lot of you know, Sergio was a critical piece of what made the first 10 months such a great success. Obviously, the president's leadership is the most important thing, but you can't do a whole lot unless you've got good people around you. And Sergio did as much as anybody to ensure that the White House was staffed with the very best people, people who were loyal to the president, loyal to the country, and loyal to the agenda that we're trying to implement. So thank you all for being here. I think it's a great testament to you, Sergio, that you got multiple cabinet secretaries, Erica Kirk, the President of the United States. This crowd would not turn out for just...
Ghetto, I spoke on that on the pardoning of Giuliani a little bit earlier. I most definitely touched on that. Ain't that crazy, Ghetto?
But it turned out for Sergio Gore. You're going to do a hell of a job, man. Congratulations.
Just to echo what Sergio said, Mr. President, you've done a lot for this country, more than any other president has in such a short period of time. And part of that is putting together a phenomenal team. And I know Sergio was instrumental in helping you achieve that. And so we think you'll do a great job. This is a very impressive collection of people. There are almost 1.5 billion people in the Oval Office right now. But Sergio's going to do a phenomenal job. Those of us who've known him, so many of his friends that are here and family as well that know how hard he works, 24 hours, 7 days a week. And that's what it takes to work in this administration because of how much you're pushing our country forward around the world and here at home. And we know Sergio will do a great job. So congratulations, Sergio. You're going to do a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Janine, please.
Well, I'm very proud to be here with Sergio. My friend has been my friend for many years. He is someone who is loyal, he is trustworthy, and he works as hard as anyone I know. And Mr. President, there is in this room a group of people who love you, who believe in you, and who are so proud to be in this Oval Office and to be part of this amazing day because you have changed the course of America. You and thank you, Sergio, for what you've done. God bless you both.
He was also very good friends with a guy named Charlie. We just knew him as Charlie, and his wife, who we love so much, is here with us. And maybe, you know how close they were together. Maybe, Erica, you could say a couple of words, please.
Charlie loved you. It's hard not to be emotional because I know that he would have been the first phone call when he found out that you were going to be taking this position. And the way that I was able to witness the two of you work together for years and to champion and support the president was absolutely humbling to witness. And I am so proud of you. And Charlie is going to be with you every single day in spirit, and I will be praying for you every day because I know that this is just the beginning of an incredible opportunity for you. And sir, thank you for allowing Sergio to have this beautiful moment.
Thank you very much. Thank you, John. And that man's watching over us right now, right? Okay. Any questions?
You mentioned the senators that are here, Mr. President.
Here
Do
we
you
go.
personally approve of the deal that's happening right now on Capitol Hill to end the government
Well, it
shutdown?
depends what deal we're talking about.
So we're talking about the shutdown now, guys. You know, I told y'all Trump had words. They just asked him about the senators who basically voted with the Republicans, guys. Let's see what he has to say about all this. Government shutdown, day 41.
Personally approve of the deal that's happening right now on Capitol Hill to end the government
Well, it
shutdown?
depends what deal we're talking about, but if it's a deal I heard about, that's certainly, you know, they want to change the deal a little bit, but I would say so. I think based on everything I'm hearing, they haven't changed anything, and we have support from enough Democrats, and we're going to be opening up our country. It's too bad it was closed, but we'll be opening up our country very quickly.
Mr. President, that deal does reverse the mass firings your administration put through during the shutdown. Did you sign off on that, and will you abide by that if this passes?
Well, I will be. I'll abide by the deal. The deal is...
We need 17 more likes, guys. Double tap that screen. Click those three dots. Hit that thumbs up, man. If you're on a mobile device, double tap that screen or click those three dots. Hit that thumbs up. Let's get the likes. Can we get the likes to 400, guys? Double tap that screen. Get the likes up. This is Trump on the government shutdown, day 41.
Very good. We're not going to be giving $1.5 trillion to people that came in from jails and from, you know, the gangs and drug dealers and all of these others that they wanted to be given health care, which would have hurt our health care system. I hope that we're going to be able to have a health care where Lindsay and I were discussing it, Jim and I were discussing it, and Katie, we discussed it. We want a health care system where we pay the money to the people instead of the insurance companies. And I tell you, we're going to be working on that very hard over the next short period of time, where the people get the money. We're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars where the people get the money. Yes, please.
The Syria president, sir, did you update us on your meeting? Did you come to any agreements?
Say it?
With the leader of Syria
Yeah.
earlier, did you come to any agreements today?
Well, I've had an agreement with him. He's a very strong leader. He comes from a very tough place, and he's a tough guy. I liked him. I get along with him, the new president of Syria. And we'll do everything we can to make Syria successful because that's part of the Middle East. We have peace now in the Middle East, first time that anyone can remember that ever happening. Syria is a very big part of the Middle East, very important part. If you look back at Syria for years, they had the doctors, the lawyers, they had so many of the great intellects. It's an amazing place with great people, and we want to see Syria be successful along with the rest of the Middle East. So I have confidence that he'll be able to do the job, absolutely.
How close are you to a deal, trade deal with India? Are you willing to consider lowering the current tariff rate?
Well, right now the tariffs are very high on India because of the Russian oil, and they've stopped doing the Russian oil. It's been reduced very substantially. Yeah, we're going to be bringing the tariffs down.
What kind of levels are we talking about here?
I mean, at some point we're going to be bringing them down. Without tariffs, this country would be in such trouble, as they were for many years. That's why we owe $38 trillion. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000, and we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. And the numbers were reported so incorrectly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court case. As you know, it's before the Supreme Court right now. But if that were ever reversed, people are saying, oh, it's $1 billion. Some people said, oh, it's $2 billion. Well, that obviously we can handle very easily. But this is trillions of dollars we're talking about in terms of the tariff income and all the investment income that's come into our country. We have more than, I would say right now, more than $18 trillion. The biggest number ever is a tiny fraction of that for any country. China, the United States, the biggest number of, if you look at the past administration, Biden, he did less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We're over 18 trillion. By the time my first year ends, we're going to have over $20 trillion of investment coming into the United States. It's unheard of. We have AI factories. We're leading China by a lot. We have cars and, car plants coming in by more than we've ever had built before. All of that would go away if we lose the tariff case. So all of it would go away. So they're not giving the right numbers. It would be an economic disaster. It would be a national security disaster if we lost the case in the Supreme Court.
Daniel, President, back to that tariff
Yes.
rebate, this is an idea you've been talking about for months. This is going to directly, positively impact millions of Americans. Why was this important for you to do and millions of Americans expect that?
So I've been talking about it for a long time, the dividend to people that, have suffered under the Biden administration. So Biden had the highest inflation in history, and we now are at a very low point. We're going to be hitting 1.5% pretty soon. So we're at a low point, and he was a high point. We did that. Food prices are way down. It's all coming down. And the biggest decrease, of course, is energy. And, as goes energy, goes everything else. Because when energy comes down, the oil, the electric, I think you're going to see $2 gasoline or something very close to that. In fact, we're already in the twos. But I think you're going to be seeing very soon $2 gasoline. That's like the equivalent of a massive tax cut. But in addition to that, the great big beautiful bill gives you a very, very big tax cut. And then you have no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime for the middle income and for even, frankly, anybody. But you have no tax, and the no tax on tips has turned out to be a tremendous thing. But when you think no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our seniors, it's the great big beautiful bill, which has been mischaracterized, but now people they don't want to talk about it because it's so good, the enemy, because it's so good for everybody. It's the greatest piece of legislation ever passed in the history of our country in terms of size. And hence they call it the big beautiful bill, or the one big beautiful, I call it the great big beautiful bill. It's an amazing bill for the middle class. It's an amazing bill for jobs. We've never passed anything like it. And in my first administration, so we had the greatest economy. Everything was good, but we're really outdoing it this time because we have investments coming in largely because of tariffs. And I think because of November 5th, the election result. But we have investments coming in like we've never had before. Please, behind you. Caitlin, behind you. Thank you, Caitlin.
On Syria, can we expect an announcement on a pact between Syria and Israel, or an announcement on them joining the anti-ISIS?
Yeah, you can expect some announcements on Syria. We want to see Syria become a country that's very successful, and I think this leader can do it. I really do. I think this leader can do it. And people said he's had a rough past. We've all had rough pasts. But he has had a rough past, and I think, frankly, if you didn't have a rough past, you wouldn't have a chance. He gets along very well with Turkey, with President Erdogan, who's a great leader. Erdogan's a great leader, and very much in favor of what's happening in Syria. We have to make Syria work. Syria is a big part of the Middle East, and I will tell you, I think it is working and really well. We're working also with Israel on getting along with Syria, getting along with everybody, and that's working amazingly. As you know, Hamas has given us back numerous bodies. It sounds pretty gruesome, but it's something the parents want more than if their son had been living. Hard to believe. I've seen all of the parents, so many of the parents, and getting back the body of their son, their dead son, is as vital to them, as important to them, as if the boy was alive. And as you know, over the last 4 or 5 days, we've gotten a lot of the additional bodies that they said they were going to. They've worked very hard to do that. So we have peace in the Middle East. It's a great thing, and nobody's ever seen anything quite like it.
After your meeting with the Syrian president today, Mr. President.
Last week about trade, your talks with Switzerland, we're reporting that you're near a deal that would lower their rates.
With Switzerland?
Yeah.
We're working on a deal to get their tariffs a little bit lower because.
15% is what we're doing.
No, I haven't said any number, but we're going to be working on something to help Switzerland along. We hit Switzerland very hard. We want Switzerland to remain successful, and we're a part of Switzerland in the sense that they've been a very good ally. Yeah, we're working on them and some others, and we're working on others to increase them a little bit too.
How close is it to Switzerland?
Switzerland? What, do you have something to do with Switzerland? He wants to buy a nice watch. He wants to buy a nice Rolex, right? We'll give Rolex some publicity. Because Rolex has been, they've been very nice, you know. Now, look, it's a beautiful country. It's a small country, but economically very big. So we're working on something. Caitlin?
After a meeting with the Syrian president earlier today, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a big ally of yours, said that she would rather see you focused on nonstop domestic policy meetings here at the White House instead of nonstop foreign policy meetings. What's your response to her saying that, and also saying that grocery prices are up and not down, as you said?
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. We had a horrible president, and we ended up with Russia, Ukraine, and we ended up with other disasters too. Don't forget, I put out 8 wars, 9 to come. I think I'll get the other one taken care of, but I put out 8 wars. And look at the damage that Russia, Ukraine has done to us as a country. I mean, we spent $350 billion. We're not spending any money anymore. Now they pay us through NATO. You know, I got NATO to go from 2% to 5%. Well, that's very important. When you're president, you really sort of have to watch over the world because you're going to be dragged into it otherwise. You're going to be dragged into a world war. I think if I weren't president, first of all, that war would have never happened if I was president. And if I weren't president, that war could have led to World War III. It won't. It's not going to anymore. But when I first got in, I said, wow, this situation could lead to World War III. And I got NATO together. I got everybody together. But with all of that, I passed a great, big, beautiful bill, which is the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. So when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now catering to the other side, I don't know what, I guess she's, got some kind of an act going, but I'm surprised at her. But when somebody like Marjorie goes over and starts making statements like that, it shows she doesn't know. I don't devote a lot of my time. Let me give you another example. China was going to hit us with rare earth. Now, everybody says, what does that mean? Magnets. If China refused to give magnets, because they have a monopoly on magnets, because they were allowed to happen over a 32-year period, there wouldn't be a car made in the entire world. There wouldn't be a radio. There wouldn't be a television. There wouldn't be internet. There wouldn't be anything because magnets are such a part. Now, nobody knows what magnets are, and not overly sophisticated, but to build a magnet system would take 2 years. So if I weren't able to say to China, look, if you're going to do that to us, we're going to charge you 158% tariff. It was 100% on top of 58%. And China called up immediately and said, we will make peace. And we made peace. We made a great deal. We made an unbelievable deal. China's paying tariffs to the United States, not the United States paying tariffs to China, which has always been the way it was. Nobody can believe these deals. But so when somebody makes a statement about he's devoting time to the world, well, the world is the United States, because if the world's in trouble or if the world is ripping us off, the world was ripping us off before I came here. Europe was getting massive tariffs. They were sending us 9-10 million cars a year. We were sending them none. They were not taking our agriculture. We were taking massive amounts of their. It was so unfair. Now we have a deal where $950 billion is coming into the United States because of me and because of tariffs. So if I don't do all these things, our country is doing very poorly. So, it's easy to say, oh, don't worry about the world. But the world is turning out to be our biggest customer. The world was on fire. And we could have been in that fire very easily if you didn't have a president that knew what he was doing.
What's the question? Can you guarantee to Americans that travel is going to go back to normal once the government...
The travel is? Oh, yeah. It'll go better than normal. You know why?
When the government reopens.
Yeah, sure. It'll be much better than normal because we're buying the most sophisticated avionics and, technology for our control towers. And we didn't have that. We had a guy named Buttigieg. Edge, this is the best way. Just say 2 edges, like off the edge of a cliff, which is where they were taking us, by the way. Edge was the Secretary of Transportation, and he spent billions of dollars trying to patch together our air traffic control system. which was a conglomeration of all different systems in all different cities. They had hundreds of companies working on it, and they were spending billions of dollars. And when they turned it on, it didn't work. It didn't even work a little bit. That's why you had a helicopter crashing into an airplane, that if we had a great system, bells and whistles would have started going off. So we are now in the process, we're in the final bids of getting the finest system anywhere in the world. I've analyzed it. Sean Duffy has been working really hard on it, doing a fantastic job, by the way. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be handing out the finest air traffic control system anywhere in the world. All the towers will be equipped. They were going copper wire into glass wire into other types of wire. And if you knew anything, you know copper wire doesn't work with glass. You know glass doesn't work with other substances. And they spent billions of dollars, and when they turned it on, nothing happened. Okay? We're getting the most sophisticated, all brand new. Every control tower will have the same exact system. It'll be the most sophisticated system by far in the world. And what we've done is we've looked around other countries and we've taken the absolute best systems in every different form, because there are different, you have lots of different companies like IBM and Raytheon and a lot of great companies. They're all bidding, and we're going to pick the best one, and it'll get built relatively quickly. And we're going to have the greatest air traffic control system anywhere in the world. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Thank you, press. Let's go. Guys.
All right, y'all. So there was Trump. So I basically have walked y'all all the way down this government shutdown day 41, guys. It's on the Senate floor right now. They're going to vote to see if they can get this resolution passed, guys, and we can get the government back open. We heard from Mike Johnson. We heard from Chuck Schumer. We heard from Bernie Sanders. We heard from Throne. We heard from Trump. We most definitely heard from other people within the Senate as well on the Democrat side, which 8 of them chose to basically side with the Republicans and get the government back open if they can get enough votes. Now it's up to them. And yeah, man, we most definitely have to keep an eye on this and see exactly how it goes, man. Well, I most definitely brought y'all up to speed within these 2 hours of everything that I have seen out. And if they update us, if the government happens to open up, basically after they take this vote, I will most definitely come back with the update to let y'all know that the government is now reopened. But as far as I know, as of right now, it is still closed. It's the longest in U.S. history, 41 days and counting, guys. I hope they get it together. There's a lot of American people that are suffering at the hands of both parties, if you ask me, because they need to come to a resolution, guys. Shout out to all my members. Shout out to all the brand new subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Shout out to my moderators for most definitely keeping this chat running smooth. And yeah, man, I'll get back to y'all with the latest updates right here on Everything News. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. And until I see y'all again, y'all stay safe out there. Y'all already know how this goes. Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be good. I'm gone.